Gewerkschaft.
So, just give me 1 minute here. So, guten Tag und danke für die Einladung. That's all my Deutsch. So good afternoon, and thank you very much for the invitation, and also congratulations for the conference that you organized. Just to introduce myself, as Özlem said before, I come from a small trade union in the national bank, in the banking sector in Greece. Well, definitely it's a period of great challenges, not only for trade unions, but for the humanity as a whole. We have an endless war in Ukraine, a war of attrition, a war that it's becoming a meat mincer for people there, and of course a genocide in Gaza, a genocide which we can watch on the TV every day. I think it's the first time in human history that such a thing happens. And those scenes are so horrible that somehow they paralyze body and soul and the minds. Well, unfortunately, also if we see the ongoing conflicts around the world, as is shown in this map, well, I think the picture is not so promising. Especially if you think that our countries, the governments of the countries where we live, they do participate directly or indirectly. As for Greece, we have sent a frigate, a ship, a warship in the Red Sea, and I have to mention that that costs, according to reports, 500,000 euro per day. Well, of course, I want mostly to talk what we should do, what we could do as trade unions and people in general. Unfortunately, of course, it's not the first time that we have a war in our neighborhood. I remember the Gulf War, the second Gulf War, the first Gulf War, and the bombardments of Yugoslavia. And as far as I remember, there was a great anti-war movement in Greece at the time. We had demonstrations with thousands of people, not only in Athens, but in other great cities like Thessaloniki and so on. And we had also people spontaneously doing things against the war, from pupils in the kindergartens to young people in the universities and so on. Somehow I think that the situation is not exactly the same right now, and maybe we should see what has happened between then and now. Well, Greece, as you know, went through the economic crisis hit very hard the country, and I think Greece is still far from recovering from three fiscal adjustment programs. So what is the situation now? Well, I would like to be objective. The number says that we have the GDP raised by 2% last year, which is a good number. It's above the average in the European Union. But the picture is not exactly as good as that, because Eurostat says that Greece is the poorest country in the EU, together with Bulgaria. And as far as wages and salaries goes, is the seventh worst in the European Union, together with other countries like Slovakia, Poland, Hungary, and so on, which actually they all joined the EU 23 years later than Greece. There's one thing where we are at the top, and this is the weekly hours of work. We are at the top with, I think, something like 42 hours per week. So the myth about lazy Greeks, I had to say that, It's only a myth. It's interesting to notice, however, that Greece leads in defense spending among the NATO countries. It's the first country. We spend 3% of GDP in defense spending. I have heard that your Minister of Defense, Mr. Pistorius, dreams the same thing about Germany. So, welcome to the club. What can I say? One might think that given the situation, this is, under these circumstances, it could be positive for the trade unions to thrive. Actually, the situation is quite different. The trade union density is falling the last year, and it's only about 20% in Greece. And in my opinion, the trade unions have lost a lot of their credibility, maybe because we didn't succeed to reverse all this situation, and they have lost a lot of their strength and impact. So this has a result. Well, I don't really know if it is the result or the reason, but anyway, that they present their demands and they try to narrow their demands. Of course, at a national level, at a sectoral level, or even at a company level. Somehow there is this notion that if we ask for less, we get more. If we ask for less, then we appear more rational, more logical, and then we are going to gain more. So they leave out of their scope other issues, for example, peace or environment, and their excuse is that people don't really care about that, and especially young people don't really care about peace and war, which happens somewhere far away, which actually is not true, and this is proven by the participation, I think you can see, of a peace concert that it was organized in 2022. And it had a great participation for young people and for people of all ages and so on. Well, what is true, however, is that trade unions, for some reason, they have created a gap between people who have stable jobs and people, mainly young people or women, who work in more precarious jobs. So we have two groups of people. For the first group, it's obvious, it goes without asking that they have to be a member of their trade union. For the second group, they don't even know what a trade union is. If you speak to them about collective agreements, you have to explain that in simple words. They don't know their rights, and they don't know how to organize. There is really a gap between, in my opinion, between these two groups. And the most alarming is that trade unions deny to see it and deny to face it. It seems that they don't understand that it would be in their own interest to deal with this problem. As I said before, they narrow their demands and they think that if you ask for less, you get more. And in my opinion, nothing is further from the truth, and this attitude does not really lead anywhere. Moreover, it seems like solidarity, it's not, for them, it's not so important. You don't gain so much, and it's even a waste of energy, and which I think quite the opposite, of course, because if you have solidarity, then what you do is you go against what the employers do, which usually they want to divide and conquer. So instead, I think what we should do is that instead of waiting for people to come to the trade unions, it's the trade unions that should go where these young people work and explain to them, help them with their problems. You know, sometimes their problems is that they don't take the days off. They are not paid for the hours that they work. They don't take the maternity leave. I mean, these kind of rights, basic rights, that they don't even know that they have. And then you have to explain to them that this jungle that goes on in the labor market in Greece, the reason behind that, it's the same reason why the wars are going on in Gaza and elsewhere. And I really think that we have to deconstruct all the lies that they have fed us with. For example, I told before about the battleship that we had to send in the Red Sea. And you know, the story in Greece goes that since Greece is a country of islands, and it has a maritime history stretching back thousands of years, and moreover, we have, you know, the biggest or one of the biggest merchant fleets in the world, we have to protect them. But in my opinion, the truth is that maybe you don't know that Greek ship owners have the majority of their fleet, 90% of their fleet, on foreign flags, on flags of convenience, and not under the Greek flag. And it's written, second, it's written in the Greek constitution that they don't pay tax, they pay very little tax, and this is written in the Greek constitution. Then they have been the first in the world to inaugurate low-wage, uninsured labor in their ships. In the midst of the health crisis and the supply crisis and the war in Ukraine, they have literally been raking billions in profits. And last but not least, they refuse to negotiate the renewal of the collective agreement, which is stuck back in the distant 2010. Except for that, there is another myth that says that we, in our countries in Europe, we are safe, and we don't have nothing to be afraid from these things that happen far away. Here, I want to show you, on the one picture, you see refugees in the Greek islands, but on the right, you see Greeks after the catastrophic floods in Thessalia last year. I don't see so much of a difference between the two. So I really think we have this task to fight the propaganda by the mainstream media. It's dangerous what they do, but that's the way it is, and we'll have to fight that. So I want to finish by saying that if you want peace, you have to work for peace. And that's what we are continue to go to do with all of our strength. Like the 8th of March, we dedicated this day to the women of Palestine. And of course, there are some trade unions who have press releases about the genocide in Gaza and so on. And there are demonstrations, but we are fighting to make the participation even bigger. So thank you very much for your attention.